October 15, 2025. The sun rose as usual over the hills of Bondo, but across Kenya, hearts felt a sudden heaviness. Raila Amolo Odinga, the man many called Baba, Agwambo, Tinga, had taken his final bow. A voice that had echoed through Kenya's political storms fell silent in faraway India. For decades, Raila was more than a politician. He was a movement. Born into the home of Kenya's first vice president, Oginga Odinga, he grew up in the shadow of power, but chose the path of struggle. In the dark days of the Moi regime, he was imprisoned for nearly 9 years, accused of subversion, tortured but unbroken. When he finally walked out, the air outside was heavy with change, and Raila was ready to shape it. The year was 2002. The winds of democracy were blowing strong. Standing before a sea of people, Raila raised his fist and shouted 2 words that rewrote history. Kibaki Tosha. It wasn't just a declaration, it was a kingmaker moment. That single endorsement united a divided opposition, ending 24 years of one-party rule. As Minister for Roads, Public Works and Housing, Raila rebuilt more than infrastructure. He restored faith in the idea that leadership could build, not just break. Under his watch, key urban housing projects rose, road networks expanded, and urban planning took center stage. Then came 2008, Kenya's darkest political hour. Post-election violence had torn the nation apart. But in the ashes, a coalition government emerged, and Raila Odinga became Kenya's second prime minister. Together with Mwai Kibaki, he helped steer Kenya back toward stability, introducing reforms that birthed the 2010 constitution. For a moment, hope returned. Years later, after yet another bitter election, Raila walked up the steps of Harambee House and shook the hand of his old rival, Uhuru Kenyatta. The handshake stunned the nation, a symbol of peace to some, betrayal to others. But to Raila, it was one final act to heal a wounded nation. By mid-2024, Kenya was on edge. A new generation, the fearless Gen Z, had taken to the streets, not with party flags, but with placards that read, "No more lies." They marched on Parliament, demanding an end to corruption, police brutality, and the old order. But as their voices rose, one man's silence grew louder. Raila Odinga, the voice that had once thundered against injustice, stood aside. To many, it felt like betrayal. Because as their children bled in the streets, Raila's coalition with President Ruto was being quietly sealed behind closed doors. It was a political truce that shocked the nation, a handshake that came too soon, too softly, in the middle of the people's pain. For the first time, Baba was not on the side of the crowd. He was across the table, and for a generation that had grown up chanting his name, that silence was unbearable. The man who had taught Kenya to defy power now found himself out of step with the very spirit he had inspired. It was not defeat, but it was distance, a gulf between yesterday's hero and tomorrow's revolution. Yet even as his political light dimmed, Raila Odinga remained a symbol of resilience. The man who had been detained, cheated, and doubted never stopped believing in Kenya. His courage forced open the doors of democracy. His words inspired movements. And his story will forever live in the heartbeat of a nation that learned to dream louder because of him. Today, the lion sleeps. But history will remember Raila Odinga not just as a man of politics, but as a man who dared to fight for Kenya's soul. Rest in peace, Baba.